Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I've got 4 replays in the Eastern Alliance Era 2 Entry Era Tech Tree Heavy Tank, that was a mouthful, the T-10b. Now if you do like the video, as always, don't forget to like and subscribe down below, as it really does help the channel. And yes, the T-10b, it is the Entry Era vehicle for Era 2, for the new Soviet heavy tank line. What's it like? Well, it is the definition of a get past it kind of tank, because it's pretty bad. Genuinely, it's not that nice to play. Stock, it's absolutely horrific. It is horrific stock. The gun on it is dreadful. Your mobility is alright. You've got no armour. And, yeah, you struggle to hit things because the gun is dreadful. Your DPM's alright with 4.8k. But, yeah, when you don't really have the penetration and your shell velocity sucks so bad that you really do struggle to hit things, it's just not a fun time. And obviously nothing fails to pen you. Occasionally you might get a ricochet because angles, but on the whole nothing really fails to penetrate you in this era. So yeah, it's not a great tank to play. It is just an absolute pain. When you do get it fully upgraded, at least the gun can do something. You've got a nice alpha, you know, you've got a decent DPM, you've got good shell velocity on it, but even then, that gun still derps a lot, and it's still pretty frustrating. You might see that in one of the 2 replays at the end where it's fully upgraded. And yeah, it can be just a frustrating tank to play this T10. And it's much like any of the other Entry Era 2 tanks, to be honest. Most of them are just tanks that are there to get ground through, get past them, and then move on to the better tanks. And yeah, this T10 is absolutely 100% no different whatsoever. So what's this T10 like stock? Well, the T10b has 54 kilometers an hour top speed, while stock you've got a 13.97 horsepower per ton ratio, which means you do hit the 54 kilometers an hour top speed with the build that we have. You've got decent view range at 488, you've got 38 degrees a second hull rotation speed, which means you do turn fairly decently quickly, 34 degrees a second on the turret rotation, which is, again, slower than your tracks, so beware of that. You've got a 5.47 second reload on this gun, which is 4.8k DPM, which is actually not too bad, but you are hitting for not much at all in this era at 440. 440 is quite low. And that means that, yeah, everything is out-trading you very, very easily. You have 0.23 accuracy, though, at 100 meters, which is actually really good. It never feels like it, but it is really good. You've got 1.23 accuracy during movement and 0.52 accuracy during rotation, which is, again, pretty damn good. It means this gun doesn't bloom out that much at all with the build that we have, so that can be quite useful for the vehicle. You've got a 2.12 second aim time, which again is actually not that bad at all. So you might be going, well, you're saying this gun is shocking, right? Well, why is this gun shocking? Well, it's because it's got 795 meters a second shell velocity, which in Era 2 is atrocious. Most Era 2 tanks have like 15 to 1600 meters a second shell velocity. This is 795. It is awful. It takes a long time for the shell to get to target, and when it does fire a lot, it tends to just miss it. Does not feel like 0.23 accuracy in the slightest, and that is pure pain for the T-10b. And you've got 5 degrees of gun depression as well on the T-10b, which again can be pure pain. There's a lot of positions where you are going to start to struggle to be able to actually use with this vehicle, so you've got to be very, very careful where you put yourself, and it's all about your positioning to be able to actually get this thing going. Which is also a pain in the fact that naturally, if you're going hull down and stuff like that, things can just go straight through your turret anyway, and your armor is just not that great generally for the T-10b, so it just is a bit of a struggle. So what do I run in terms of a crew and equipment on the T-10b? Well, I run pretty much very similar to what I've run across the IS-3M and the IS-4M. I run Button Leader, Rapid Reload, Sixth Sense, Steady Aim, Snapshot, Run and Gun, Clutch Braking, Rapid Aim, Track Mechanic, Advanced Loader, Gun Stabilizer, and Traction System. Traction System to be able to get up to that 54 kilometers an hour top speed with the stock build, and the better track traverse as well. The Gun Stabilizer to make this gun as good as possible because it is utterly atrocious. The Advanced Loader to make the DPM as good as possible. The Rapid Aim to make the turret traverse better because it is a little bit slower than the track, so I want to. The Clutch Braking, again, to make it turn on a sixpence, make it feel more nimble. And all 3 gun perks, again, to make sure this gun is as good as possible because it is really not a very good gun at all, and you will suffer with it. Because it does also have 348mm of penetration on this standard APDS round, which is really not very good. You really struggle to pen a lot of tanks with that penetration, which is pure pain. So, in this first game, you've seen us completely stock. And we've managed 4.8k damage and 1753 assistance. And we've suffered the pain of Thiepval Ridge. And that is that we all went down the AB line, down to the 9-0 to their cap, and they went the opposite way round. And Thiepval Ridge is basically, they can cap with pure ease. This map is so unbalanced for Cold War, because they can cap with ease. We can't, because from our cap, they can see their cap, and they can reset their cap from our spawn, whereas we cannot do that. We have to get back up the hill to do it, which is completely unbalanced, and that means that basically our team from our spawn can very rarely cap. The only time we can, the enemy team can cap is from their own from our own team's incompetence, right, or whichever team spawns in that spot. But as you can see, we managed 6.5k damage in the end. We knew we were boned at the end there, so we were just trying to get as much as we could. We finished with 6.5k damage and 1753 assistance with 785 base XP on a loss, which isn't too bad, but you just saw the struggles in that game. There was so many shots that bounced that we sat there going, really? Quite a few shots missed that we were like, really? You know, we were able to use the mobility of the tank quite well, which is good. And like I say, the mobility of this vehicle is not anything to be sniffed at. It's good for what is classed as a heavy tank, right? You've got, with the second replay that we are here, we are fully upgraded in all but the gun. So this is still the stock gun that we've got. And this replay is actually more of the average game that I've probably had in this vehicle. And we are going to suffer this gun again. Like, yeah, it's just not... That shell velocity is really the pain. And I think that's what makes it feel so bad, is the fact that 795 meters a second shell velocity on their standard APDS is really just not very good. And even though you've got 0.23 accuracy at 100 meters, and you've got really good accuracy during movement and rotation, especially when you've got the top turret, you've now got accuracy during movement of 1.09 and accuracy during rotation of 0.56. So the gun just doesn't bloom out whatsoever when you're running the gun stabilizer and the crew perks, right? So, yeah, it's just, it loves a good miss, and it is totally frustrating. And even when you do hit, 348 penetration bounces quite a lot on a lot of plates that you wouldn't expect in Era 2. And then, not only that, you're only hitting them for 440. A lot of the tanks are probably hitting you for 460 to 480 to 540, right? You know, if you get the fully upgraded gun, that's where you're starting to hit for. So, you're getting out-traded easily. A lot of the tanks still have very similar DPM to you with that higher alpha, and that is the annoying part of the T-10... Well, one of the annoying parts of the T-10b, right? And the fact that you've got no armor is also a pain. Like I say, you can bounce shots occasionally, and you've already seen us bounce a shot because angles exist, and shots, you know, shells can hit auto ricochet angles and they will bounce, but yeah, pure pain otherwise. So now we are fully upgraded in all but the gun. We actually get 56.65 kilometers an hour top speed out of this top engine. We've got nearly 15 horsepower per ton ratio, which means that we can hit that very, very easily. We are a very, very mobile, heavy tank, in inverted commas. We've got 40.77 degrees a second hull rotation speed, which is pretty damn quick. And we do turn on a sixpence very, very well. But our turret rotation is only 36.49 still, which means we are still way slower than the tracks. So it's something to bear in mind that if you try and turn your turret the opposite way to where you're turning the tracks, the turret will just not keep up in general, which can be pretty frustrating. You have 510 meters of view range as well now with having the top turret, which again is not too bad for the T-10b. So you can see we're just trying to get shots across at the T-80 that wasn't actually spotted. The Magak 3's come out, so let's get the shot straight through him, and he gets shut down by the other T-10b. We're going to see if we get that T-80's out. We fire at the T-80, and we just hit the building next to him, because why not? He's hidden away, though. Oh, we can actually see him, and thankfully that one actually hits. But, yeah, to be honest, we're never going to pen that. I just took that hoping I'd maybe track him or something like that, get some assistance, you know, but it just didn't work. Now our team's advanced quite aggressively down that BC line. It's time to move. I'm thinking about going and possibly cutting off the attack of the enemy team down the K line, but a lot of them have already moved on. There's actually shots at the Rickety Panzer, but the Rickety Panzer is pushing towards me, and I'm looking at this going, oh boy, that guy looks like he could actually be going for shots at me, but thankfully he doesn't. We aim the shot in, it thankfully goes straight into him there, and we get up to 4,000 damage. The T-10b is still over there on the hill at G0. So what I'm going to do is go see if I can see anyone like this Bagel Panzer. It's like, hello, Mr. Bagel Panzer, but sod's law, just as we get here, the Bagel Panzer manages to get himself saved. But it's like, Mr. T-72A, hey, what are you doing over here? He's just sitting sideways on. Sadly, the first shot just missed. The second shot does loop in, though. You're seeing that shell velocity with this vehicle. By the way, my driving is fantastic. You're seeing the shell velocity with this vehicle. When you fire, it just loops. The shells loop. And that is really what causes this gun to feel so terrible. But yeah, we got a nice shot there into that T-72A. The T-10b, we can't quite see. We go for the shot anyway, but we were never going to hit that. And we just got to close the distance. And again, this is where the T-10b's mobility is nice, because when we do have to try and get somewhere to get damage, we can at least try and keep up. But naturally, a lot of the MBTs in this era make it quite difficult to keep up, even at 56 kilometers an hour. Same as with the light tanks and stuff like that. Because 56 kilometers an hour is quick, right? But when a lot of the MBTs are doing more like 70 to 80, yeah, that's when you're chasing down stuff or chasing down damage, you really do struggle with just that mobility. So we've managed to get up to face the T-72A. We try and go through the turret front, but we actually hit the upper plate and ricochet. Trying to find a better spot to maybe pen it, and there we go. We get the shot in for 450, and he gets finished off by the T-18. We finished the game with a fairly average total there for an Era 2 tank of 4.8k damage. Finished with the victory. Decent amount of credits as well, 89,000 as well, which is not too bad. The third class, the Eagle Eye, for doing a bit of damage while on the spotted targets, and 1,079 base XP. Again, that is a third, the more representative game for what the T-10b will be doing, and it's exactly how you want to be playing it. You do not really want to be a frontline vehicle in this tank, and you might be going, well, you're a heavy tank. Heavy tanks are supposed to be frontline brawling. No, not in Cold War, not in Era 2 and 3 especially. I mean, when you get into Era 2 and 3, the lines between MBTs, well, between heavy tanks, light tanks, medium tanks, etc., the class system doesn't work for Era 2 or Era 3, if we're honest, because this heavy tank is more like a medium tank. That's the way it plays. You don't want to be brawling. You don't want to be on the front line because you won't bounce anything. Everything will shred you, and you will be pretty pointless. You want to be on the periphery. You want to be supporting. You want to be keeping your gun singing while other people are basically taking the flak. Because if you're the one taking the flak, you will die very quickly. You won't get much done, and it will be all ogre for you very, very quickly, which is just the way it goes for the T-10. So now we are on the third replay of this video, and we've upgraded to the final gun on the tank. We've got a gun that is actually punchy. We've got 1,620 meters a second shell velocity, which is very, very nice, which means we don't have to give too much lead while trying to shoot enemy tanks, which is great. It also means that this gun doesn't feel as derpy as the previous one, although it does still love a good miss, which is deeply frustrating at times. We've got 401 millimeters of penetration on the standard APDS rounds. I don't bother with the heat rounds because they've got 520 pen, but again, it's heat rounds, so I don't really bother with that. 401 pen will be decent enough to go through quite a lot of vehicles, but on the whole, it still finds awkward spots to bounce, which can be a bit frustrating at times. You've also now got 540 damage on this gun, which means, again, you're actually starting to feel punchy. You're starting to hit for that 520, 530, 540, 550, or 571 like you just saw on that Brennus there. And you don't feel like you are just tapping people for 440. You actually feel like you're putting an impacting round in now, which is good for this T-10b. You've got 1.16 accuracy during movement, 0.48 accuracy during rotation, which is basically fantastic. It means that your gun, while on the move and turning the turret, will not bloom out that much at all, so you won't have to worry too much about the 2.12 second aim time that this T-10b has, because, yeah, we're full chat on the move there, and that's as big as the aim circle ever gets, and that is pretty good for the vehicle. You got 0.24 accuracy at 100 meters with this build that we have as well, which is pretty good, which means generally it is decently accurate, but again, the gun just likes finding the dirt. It really does. It likes finding really awkward ricochet angles and places where you just aren't going to hit it, and you go, oh, thanks, gun, you know? It does like doing that. You have a 6.5 second reload, or 6.56 second reload with this 122mm M62 T2U as well, which is nice for 540 alpha. It means you've got 4.9k DPM, which is pretty good DPM for an Era 2 tank. And that means you, again, will be able to put out the hurt. It means you've got something. You've got DPM, right? Which means you've got something going for you. But it's still a bit of suffrage. It just means that when you're grinding, at least you don't feel completely useless. But it still adds to the fact that this tank is just get past it. Just get past it. Because once you get to the T80, you might have more fun. It's just basically a hit point pinata for a lot of tanks that are shooting at it. And that is what is pure pain for this vehicle. So you can see so far on this third replay on Kampenberg, we've managed to get 5.3k damage, and we're just trying to farm up this T-80b, and he gets shut down by the Bagel Panzer. We're up to 921 assistance as well, and we've just managed to do exactly what the T-10b wants to do, and that is put ourselves in a good position to just keep farming out the damage. But we've also missed quite a few shells again that are just a bit frustrating. It's like, oh, how did that miss? Like, thanks, game. The Sheridan's trying to angle for shots at us. There's another Sheridan as well looking, so we're just going to pull back, see if we can get a cheeky shot into this one. Aim the shot up, and it goes extremely high and ricochets on the Sheridan. Because, of course, it does. Why wouldn't it? Thanks, gun. Love you eternally. But there's only 5 tanks left on the enemy team, and we know where the Sheridan... Well, the Sheridan's just been shut down. We know where the last 4 are. They're all on this corner at GH9. So we can try and get up behind them and start farming the damage. I'm not really too bothered about taking hits at this point now because we're still 2,275 HP, which means that we can take a hit or two while trying to push out our very nice 4.9k DPM. So as we're cresting over, we do get spotted. That's by the other Sheridan, I think it is, that was running around at HJ9. And we're going to go in on these T10s. If we can get a gun out of that game, that would be great. So we put one T10b down to a one-shot. And then we're, again, just looking for the kill shot, but we don't get it. So we put the other T10b down to a one-shot as well. So let's shut down this guy, aiming the shot up for his lower plate. And we hit the floor. Which means we're probably dead now because these two are going to kill me because they will out-reload me. We shut down the other T-10b, and the other T-10b, because there was 2 of them, ends up finishing us off. Again, that was the gun in action. We had the fully aimed shot at his mid-plate and lower plate, and it still just decided to hit the floor, which, yeah, is pure annoyingness that happens with RNG sometimes. But we finished with the first class, the 1402 base XP, 7.1k damage, 1600 assistance. A pretty decent game there for the T-10b while fully upgraded. And now we're on to the 4th and final replay of this video. And we are on Fredvang. On Fredvang, what I want to try and do is move to the position at E4, because on that hill there, I can shoot the people as they try and cross the B line and go down the 2 line. And if anyone decides to push down the 9-0 and then up the JK, I can also shoot them from that position as well, which is kind of handy. Because people do like to camp sometimes at K7, K6, and try and shoot people that are sitting on that hill that I was talking about, which means that you can also get them, because naturally you can see them with true vision. But we're just going to use the mobility of the T-10b to push ourselves there, which again, for saying it's a heavy tank, that's a nice thing about the T-10b, is the fact that we do have that 56 kilometers an hour top speed, and we do hit it, so we can just zip about and get to where we want. Naturally, like I say, we don't have the speed of a lot of the other MBTs in Era 2 that are doing 70 or 80, but we can still shift about. We're not very, very slow. We're not like 30, 40 kilometers an hour. We're still pretty nippy. So we get a shot early on into the M103A2. Looking for a shot into the Bagel Panzer, who's crossing as well, which we get in nicely. Looking for the roof, maybe? But no, the M103-2 actually drives straight out in front of us. And naturally just RBR teasers, because that's what they can do. We get a shot through his lower plate, though. And we're just going to use the house to back up to get a bit of cover from this guy if we can. We put another shot through the M103A2, and he gets finished off by our Ignis Pagatio there. Now, we know that there's at least a light tank and that heavy tank at C2, and another light tank. So we're just going to turn around. I was going to try and see if we can get shots at the people that were crossing down the 5 line. But, you know, if there's people out in the open that we might be able to shoot like the BMP, we're always going to do it. But the BMP getting ATGM'd and then finished off means that I'm now going to go see if I can actually shoot these guys that are coming down here. We find the AV, And we track that T-72 AV in place with a shot to his rear drive wheel, looking to keep him pinned there, which we do, but naturally he just goes straight through us, and this is where it's a bit awkward, because his DPM and my DPM, he will still be able to do quite a bit of damage. I might bounce on him, he won't bounce on me, and that's exactly what happened. We bounced on the side of that T-72 AV, he just went, ha, lol, and hit us straight through the front of the turret. Mostly aimed there on that AV, and we hit the rock, because of course... But thankfully, we do actually pen that one, and he did bounce. There we go. He hit the log on the side of the spaced armor, and that actually meant that he ricocheted. And again, aimed on the T-72 AV as he's pulling back, and we hit the floor. Again, this gun is a little troll at times, and it just loves the floor. It loves missing it. It's really frustrating for that. So we're now looking at the map and going, okay, where was their team? A lot of their team were running down the 8 line up the J line. So now what's happening? I was just looking to see if I could see anyone crossing with true vision, and there is a lot of their team. They've all come round towards our base, so we're going to push round, see if we can get some shots into them. So we're just trying to use the awkward gun depression, get the gun down, and we do actually get a shot into the T-10, but the other T-10 actually manages to just snap the shot straight in and pen us. Sadly, that shot goes a little high on the T-80s. He's crossing and it ricochets off his turret front, and we're just in an awkward situation where people are looking at us, and we're not really going to bounce them, but we're struggling because also they're a bit below our gun depression, and 5 degrees of gun depression will struggle a little bit with those vehicles, well, you know, with this position to try and get the shots on those vehicles. But the T-10's crossing in the open, so it's like, Mr. T-10, all your friends have now moved on, and of course, we ricochet off the one spot that we probably couldn't pen that T-10. The T-80's looking at us, so I'm just watching to see if he decides to drive out. We go for the upper plate, but sadly 401 pen was not quite enough for the upper plate of that T-80. Maybe we can get a shot into him. There we go, straight through the upper plate of the T-80 as he's pulled out, because he gave us more of a shot. So instead, we're going to see if we can get a cheeky shot into this T-10, which we put straight through his turret. He puts a shot straight through us, which means we're now actually a one-shot for quite a few tanks. So we've got to be really, really careful, because naturally, 481 hit points. Quite a few tanks have 480 damage on average, which means more than a 50-50, or less than a 50-50, sorry, to kill us in one shot. But stuff like the T-10, T-80, they will kill us in one shot if we're not careful. So we've got to be very, very... Well, we just got... Because of the hit points we've got left, we've just got to be a bit more passive. So we're seeing the T-10 down there. I'm thinking, can I angle for a shot at that T-10? I can't quite see him because he's behind the ridgeline. So we're going to maneuver ourselves into a better position to see if we can get a shot into the T-10 and look for shots into the T-80. We get the finishing shot there into the T-10b. And we'll put ourselves up to 6,700 damage. The T-80's been attacked by the other heavy tank, and I'm just trying to see, again, there's still 4 tanks left. We know where the T-80 is, but where are the other 3 guys? We get spotted, and I go, okay, what was that? It's a T-72 AV. We get the shot snapped into his side as he's coming over. Hopefully we can get the kill shot, but he just moves behind the rocks just as we were loaded, which is, again, it's funny how that timing works, right? We are also capping. We've got 3 guys on the cap, which means that if we don't find the rest of their team, we're not really going to get any more damage, and sadly for me, that is exactly what happens. We cap out for the win. We finished the game with a pretty decent total there for the T-10 yet again. We're finished with the victory. And we come second on the team, 1 kill, 7.3k damage. The second class, the Confederate, with 1173 base XP. A pretty decent game again for the T-10b, which is very much a tank that is just get past it. Get past it, get onto the next tank, because it's really not a fun time to play. But you've got nice mobility. Your alpha can be nice when you're fully upgraded, but generally you're just Swiss cheese and you're a massive hit point pinata most of the time. So as always, everybody, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.
A great success.